Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Wonder of Anime podcast. I am your host, Lisa, and this is a weekly, sometimes, no, this is not a weekly. This is a bi-weekly podcast about anime and all the things that we love. That's not my usual intro, but we're just keeping it because I can't remember. And we're just rolling. So this week, I am so excited to have another guest that I am absolutely obsessed with. Someone whose name I've known for years. They're actually all over my bookshelf, unbeknownst to me. And this past Anime NYC, I had the awesome opportunity on being on a panel with them, and luckily I was able to con them into getting on the podcast. On the show with me today is TJ Ferentini. They began working in the manga publishing industry in 2016 as an editorial intern for Kodansha Comics. They are now a senior editor with Kodansha Comics, where they have worked on series such as Wandance. Did I say that right? Wandance?
Wandance.
Wandance. See, I told you I could pronounce it. Wandance, the Attack on Titan, and Blue Lock Omnibuses, and many of Kodansha's BL and LGBTQ plus series, including Boys Run the Riot, Is Love the Answer, My Summer of You, Whisper Me a Love Song, and so many more. TJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, just so grateful. We gotta connect at that COD. I very quickly realized we have like the same taste in like anime and manga, and I was just so honored when you asked if I would like to come speak. So thank you so much for inviting me to the podcast. I'm like starstruck right now.
I'm starstruck because, as many people know, a lot of those titles I've talked about, I reviewed on my website, and I'm someone who pays attention to who's editing this, who's translating this, who's on there. So I've written your name so many times on my website, like this is the editor of this series. So to have you here is so cool, and I'm so excited to get into it. Now, I always want to know people's like lore. What's your history? So how did you get into anime?
Yeah, so I mean, when I first got into like anime and manga, like I was like a kid, like my gateway drug was Cardcaptor Sakura. I first saw that I think I really saw like Cardcaptor Sakura before I realized like it was an anime. And then I remember I like went on vacation out of state, and I went in a bookstore and I saw the manga, and I was like, wait, there's a book for this? So that was kind of how I got into like, not only anime but like also manga. And then, as I kind of like got older, thinking about what I wanted to do as a career, I've always loved books. I've always loved writing. And I knew I wanted to like live in the publishing industry as not only a writer, but an editor, because I also loved thinking like, how can you get this writer, this story that they're writing to be the best that they want to be? But when I graduated from college, I was very riding the struggle bus trying to break into the publishing industry. But I kept on getting work because I knew Japanese. It was my minor in college. And kind of every job that I found myself getting right after college I got because I had to do with me knowing Japanese. I worked at Japan Society in their language center in New York for a while. I was a receptionist at this Japanese kind of like spa. I worked for a Japanese graphic design company. So once that kind of kept happening, I realized, okay, maybe this Japanese thing isn't a hobby. It would be great if I could find a way to like combine it with editorial, to like work on books and use my Japanese and my, publishing skills. But that's not going to happen. But then things kind of just fell into place. I did New York University Summer Publishing Institute, and that's kind of how I ended up kind of networking, connecting with some folks in the manga industry. And very shortly after I created that program, that's when I kind of started off as an intern for Kodansha. And I'm very thankful that I've been with Kodansha like ever since. So my whole publishing career, my manga publishing career has been with Kodansha. So that's my not so tragic anime backstory.
That is so cool. And also Cardcaptor Sakura was, I wouldn't say it's my first anime, but it was up there with like Pokemon, Digimon, where you don't know that you're watching anime, you just know that you're watching. And it also was my first manga too. So I'm like, oh, look at us having the same life. Like,
oh my gosh.
I went to the library and I was like, wait a minute, this is what I used to watch, because I used to watch it maybe like first and second grade, and I went to the library fifth grade, and I was like, oh my god, wait, I used to watch this, and it was like a whole new world of the manga. So I love that we have that same origin story.
Yeah, it was also really kind of funny how, because like the reason why manga was at the 5x7 trim size it was usually at was they made it the same size as DVDs so that they would put the manga close to the DVDs of the anime adaptations whenever you were in like Suncoast or Sam Goody or bookstores and stuff like that. So like in addition to Cardcaptor Sakura, like my other first two manga series that I read were Chobits and Inuyasha.
Oh my
which
god.
I probably should not have been reading when I was 10. But there was that no kind of like filter back in the day. It's like whatever you got, you got. But yeah, and it's really wild to like kind of see how it's gone from there to now, because one of the first series I actually edited was we released a 20th anniversary edition of like Chobits, and as I was working on it I was just like 10-year-old me would be like my mind is just blowing right now, because I couldn't imagine that something that I was so passionate about and interested in when I was younger kind of led to like adult me and like my career.
That is, and I'm like a Clamp aficionado. So my other shelf on the other side is all my. I'm on a mission to collect every single thing Clamp has ever published, licensed in English. So I have I love Chobits too, and I'm just like, and I don't have the re-release of. I have like the original Tokyo Pop edition. So I'm very interested in seeing the re-release, because were the translations updated?
Yeah, so we redid the translation to kind of, really kind of give it that premium anniversary look. We redid the translation, the lettering. It's also in a beautiful hardcover edition. So the cover illustrations are like, new. And in addition to that, in Japan, they released a Chobits like photo illustration collection called Your Eyes Only. And we were able to take that book and kind of split it up amongst all the volumes. So every volume has a color gallery in the back. So you can see every like illustration that Clamp has done for Chobits in color too. So we really wanted to make sure that, fans not only had a premium anniversary edition that they could get in print, but also like something to really, really make it special for that celebration.
I gotta scour the internets to find this now, because how did I miss this? That's so cool. I love that. I love that that's such a full circle moment of a project for you to have like Chobits, and Inuyasha was also like, that was like my first anime where I knew it was anime. So I'm a sucker for Inuyasha too.
Yeah, no, and to kind of also like bring it back to Wandance, which we're gonna like dive into and talk more about. The translator that I worked with for Chobits 20th anniversary edition, Kevin Steinbach, he's just such a phenomenal translator, and through working with him, it's kind of taught me more about what's necessary to be like an editor, and just learning about the art of localization, like his translation process. It's just been I'm just so thankful to have been able to work with him for all the years that I have been. But he's also the translator for Wandance, so it was so great because we got to work on that project, and now we're working on like Wandance together and several other things. But again, kind of seeing like full circle. Just so thankful for that.
I love that. And, that does lead me to what I wanted to ask is, as an editor, what exactly do you do? Because I know a lot of people, we think of editing like, oh, I wrote this essay, here's someone like correcting my grammar or something. But I imagine with manga, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, so there is like the editing of the actual English language edition. So a big part of our jobs is having the Japanese fluency to go through the script that we get from the translator, checking to make sure that the translations are accurate, character voices are in line with the characters, everything on the page is translated, and then also too, like when everything kind of gets put together with the artwork, making sure that everything is like retouched correctly, laid out correctly. But there's also like a bunch of other tasks that editors are also kind of responsible for. My favorite is, when I really get to also like take that creative spin and put it into the final product of a book. For example, I work on a lot of our premium editions and box sets. So it's so fun thinking about what's a cool effect that we can do on this that fans would really enjoy. For example, I loved working on the Attack on Titan box sets and the Witch Hat Atelier box sets, because for Attack on Titan, we included bonus story booklets that weren't previously released in English. We included like jumbo posters of like just beautiful color artwork from the series. And for Witch Hat, it came with a set of art cards that includes Shirahama Sensei's illustration in gold like ink, and the outside of the box has also like this beautiful kind of like gold ink on it. So I also love kind of channeling that into like creatively too, thinking about like what would fans would really love. But also too, a large part of our job is also reviewing titles for publication. So when we're thinking, we're like, should we consider licensing this series? Hey, I see that a lot of fans are talking about this online. Maybe we should look into it, consider publishing it. But also I'm very thankful to have the autonomy to that. Like if an editor is also really, really passionate about something, we could kind of bring that to Kodansha and be like, hey, I'm reading this series lately. I feel really strong for it. I think there's an audience for it. I think we should check it out. So I'm also very, very thankful and fortunate that a lot of the titles that I edit, I either like pitched myself, or when we were asked to review it, I read it and I'm like, hey, I absolutely love this series. I think that we should go for it. So we definitely do like a lot of a lot of those kind of like small things too. Writing cover copy for the back of the book. When you pre-order a book online and you see like all that info on like Amazon or Barnes and Noble or retail page, the editors are kind of responsible for that too. So in addition to being wrist deep in the books themselves, there's also a bunch of these kind of like smaller tasks that we're responsible for as well.
That is so fun. Like, I know it's a lot of work, and you have your editing responsibilities and you're doing all these other things as well too, but you just light up and you sound so passionate about it, and it's like mixing all of the things that you are passionate about. It's like a dream job.
Yeah, it really is. And like I said, I'm just so grateful too, because like I mentioned in my bio, I edit a lot of our BL and our LGBTQ plus titles. So for those titles especially, I want to make sure that we can present and bring the best localization, the best English language version we can to fans. So for those series especially, if there's color artwork that we find, or if I see like, hey, the author released these bonus stories, can we include that in our edition? I love kind of seeing what we could do to add that additional content. So those have been like other projects that I've been like very, very passionate about. And so I get so excited when people read them and they're like, whoa, why is there like 120 bonus pages in this manga? And then like people are like, oh my God, they did it. They included the bonus stories. Like, I'm fanboying like along with the readers whenever I see people have those reactions. And like I said, I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to do what I do.
Yes, I'm definitely one of those like excited about the bonus. I'm like, especially because I don't know going in, and I'm like, ooh, bonus chapter, or like I love the little author notes and just like little tidbits. Like those really do make your experience as a reader. So it's like so awesome that there's so much love and care put into that. With editing, and I feel like now, especially in the last couple of years, the manga industry itself has like, I want to say, in a way, been more visible to fans, and fans have more access to publishers. So, fans are directly requesting, like, I want this license, I want this. Do you think there's any misconceptions about what, like anything in the manga industry or like editing that fans may not actually be like, might not actually know or might be misunderstanding?
Yeah, I think sort of what's behind the curtain, like it's like folks are just not going to know about if they're not like deep in the weeds of it. For example, I feel like sometimes folks will be like, oh, why did like the translator pick this title or do that? And sometimes it's like, hey, like the translator isn't even involved in that part of the process, or for example, like you mentioned, like fans have the opportunity to go to publishers and ask like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? And I think sometimes when sometimes people think that either we may not be seeing what they're very vocal about, or people might be like, oh, like, why can't you do this or do that? Sometimes there's a lot of like stuff going on in the back end that may make, you know, acquiring a license difficult, or like when we decide on a title for an English localization, you know, those are like conversations that are had with many people. It's choices that are then run by like the original like Japanese author who then like approves it. So I think there's some of like, you know, those elements that folks may not be aware of, like what may cause something to be licensed or not. Also too, sometimes it's also like a matter of timing. Like I've certain had situations where there's something that I've pitched. We don't, you know, we don't decide to license it then, but a couple years later we might decide to do it, and it might just be like a matter of timing too. I love it when people are really passionate about series, because that means people really care about manga and they want to see it get a official release that, you know, not only is accessible to fans, but also like respects the original creator. I highly encourage anyone to, you know, if you go to an anime convention, if you go to panels, you know, some publishing companies will also have like surveys or like emails where you can get in touch with us and let us know what you like. Never shy away from, you know, voicing what you would like us to see, because we do read all of those inquiries, and that is definitely a factor in when we consider what we want to, you know, license. So because if it's certainly one thing that I've learned just from doing my job, don't be afraid to like make suggestions, because the best thing that could happen is people will agree with you and decide to do the thing, and then you get to do the really, really cool thing. I love getting those opportunities to chat with folks and see what folks would like to see, you know.
Yes, I always tell, I think I don't chime in a lot because I'm like, I'm gonna be that annoying person. But I often see some misconceptions and I'm like, you can just ask. There's an email, there's a contact person, there's a contact form. I think it's and I love having these conversations because I feel like sometimes people think that there is, you know, we don't know the ins and out of publishing, but I think a lot of people who are in the manga industry love manga, and they're in the industry because they love manga, so they are willing to be like, hey, like this is actually how it works, you know, this is actually who does this or who does that. And I think it's so easy, I think, online to like run with like a fake theory or be like, they hate this author and they'll never publish anything by them. And it's like, well, actually, here's XYZ reasons why this isn't possible or whatever. So I love getting that insight, but as I could ask you 300 questions about the industry, so I'm not going to do that because we actually have an important topic to discuss today, and
Yes.
I actually brought you in as the expert of this series. And when I asked my guests, I'm like, send me some lists, send me a bunch, because I'm like, if someone else has requested this topic, you know, I don't want to cross. But the title that you will be speaking of today. Let me see. I'm like, did I already forget how to pronounce it? Wandance.
One dance,
One
yeah.
dance sounds like one dance. One dance. The title had stuck out to me because I like heard some chatter, people being excited that it was being animated, and I was like, okay, I don't know a lot about this. I don't know anything about this, so immediately I was like, yes, we have to talk about this one because I don't know about it, and I love having that. So, as the expert, TJ, you are going to tell us about One Dance.
Yeah, so One Dance is a manga and now an anime series written and illustrated by Coffee. It first began serialization in Kodansha's monthly afternoon magazine. It started in January 2029. There are now 14 volumes in total. Volumes 1 through 13 are now out in English by Kodansha Comics, with volume 14 coming out next year. And what we're going to talk about today, which I'm super excited to talk about, the anime adaptation started this year in October, produced by Madhouse and Cyclone Graphics.
Ooh.
Yeah, and you want me to go into what the series is?
Yes. What is Wandance about?
Yeah. So One Dance is about a first year high schooler, Cabo, and Cabo is he is very kind of he struggles with communicating with people, and he's also kind of like really insecure about himself too because he has a stutter. So he struggles like having verbal conversations with folks. But what he knows that he loves doing is he loves dancing, but he's very self-conscious to like do it. And one day, at the start of high school, he sees this girl, Hikari Wanda, dancing in like, one of their kind of like outdoor areas at their school. And he just admires her because she's not only an amazing dancer, but she looks so free when she's dancing. And it's about how he ends up joining his high school's dance club with Wanda, and how even he falls in love with dance, because Wanda says that one reason why she loves it is you don't have to talk to do it. So it's kind of about kind of Cabo coming into his own, as he starts getting very passionate about and learning dance. And it's just an incredibly beautiful, amazing series.
Oh, I didn't know that. I try not to like look stuff up beforehand if I don't know the series. So that I didn't know. I knew it was dancing. Like I had seen, I think, a little clip of the dancing, but I didn't know that the main character had issues with a stutter. I used to have a stutter, so I
Oh my
thought,
god, yeah, and the one reason why I fell in love with the series so much is because I still hear it. I don't know if other people do. But I grew up with, I didn't necessarily have a stutter, but I did have a speech impediment. So when I first kind of discovered One Dance and read One Dance, I had never read like a book, a manga, anything where the main character had like a stutter or a speech impediment. So getting to see that reflected in media, I just felt so seen. And I was just so grateful to the author for, making a manga about it. So just the representation is amazing.
yes, it's so important. So how did you get introduced to the series?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, as editors, we're reading manga all the time, for consideration, and this was a series that Kodansha was interested in licensing. So they came to us and they're like, "Hey, would anyone like to read this? Can you let me know what you think?" And I read it, and not coffee is just a beautiful does not begin to describe the artwork of One Dance. It reminds me of a lot of like, how like in we were talking about Clamp before, how the artwork is just so stunning and gorgeous, and there's all this beautiful detail. There's some manga artists that are just like that. Like I feel like I think of Clamp, I think of Kamome Shirahama, the creator of Witch Hat Atelier, I think of Arina Tanimura, and Coffee just has such a beautiful, unique art style that it's a dance manga, and the characters very truly come alive on the page. But what resonated with me so much was honestly like Cabo and his story and his journey, because not only is it just so well written, you have that representation, but you could tell from just the way the author writes and reading the author notes that it's so palpable that they were writing about their own like genuine like experiences. So it just resonated with me like so much. And that's kind of how I fell in love with the series, and I'm like, yeah, we need to do
Please
it.
get us the series right now. I love that too, that it's like it was part of your job, so it's like you got paid to discover
Yeah.
the series that you love. Like that's like a little nice bonus to it. So you're reading it, you are instantly seeing a character that you can resonate with. When did you know, like, or when did the switch happen from like, oh, I like this to, oh, this is gonna be a favorite of mine?
Oh man, like I really, when I was getting like deep in the weeds and like working on like the first few volumes, like I think I know like, yeah, this is just so incredibly special. Because like even though it is like a dance manga, it didn't hit me at first that it's like, oh, a sports manga, because I think like when you think of sports manga, you think of like team sports, and with dance, it's like really similar to like, like ice skating, where it's very like, individual. But as I was like reading more and more of the series, it's like you get those like, the arcs, and then you're like, what's gonna happen next? And so very quickly I just found myself like more and more like falling in love with the series. But like I said, I think like just the the care that has gone into and now that the anime is out, really to authentically cast the anime too has just really just cemented my love for this series. I'm watching it both in Japanese and in English, and for the dub, Kieran Reagan is the voice of Kabo. Kieran is like one of my favorite voice actors. And when he announced that he got the role of Cabo, even he was saying like, this is so important to me because like not only is One Dance just like a beautiful series, but like I also have a stutter, so to voice a character that has a stutter is so, and that just like I'm like sitting in front of my computer sobbing because that authenticity is just so palpable. And even like talking with you, like it's just it means so much when you're not only like consuming media when you're a fan of a series, but there is that nugget of like representation that just allows you to resonate with something so incredibly deeply. And I'm just so grateful to hear that got to extend to the anime dubbing team, with like the English localization of like the anime.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think oftentimes people have made representation like a bad thing, or like, we're not gonna get into it, but we know those people who've made any type of representation a bad thing. But people who don't see themselves represented have no idea how it feels to be in a situation where you are othered, you are different, and now this story comes along that it's like, oh, I went through this, or I deal with this now, I dealt with this back in the past. Like, it's a lot, because sometimes these type of things, especially something with speech where people get made, I got called Captain Stutterer for a whole year. So I definitely, it's like, oh my god, that's like an unlocked memory. But it's things that, one, you're actually made fun of for, and two, it really affects how you view yourself and your confidence. And it's not something that you speak on, or that that's easy for people to understand or to talk about. And then to see a book or a story that you, one, love the story, and you're like, wow, I'm going through this, or I have gone through this in the past, like, especially when you've been dealing with it by yourself, it's like indescribable how that impacts you, being like, oh, someone on the other side of the world actually gets this, like, and other people who don't get this are now going to see what kind of I went through.
Yeah, and thank you so much for your vulnerability and for sharing that, because you see exactly that, with Cabo. Like, classmates come up to him and they say like insensitive things like, oh, do you stutter in your head, or like, why do you talk like that? And it is something that he is like very self-conscious about. And what I love about it too is it almost kind of becomes like something that he comes into as his own. Like, there's a really beautiful line when again, like his classmates are talking to him about his stutter, because he's like, oh, I'm not nervous, I just talk like this. And he's like, well, the way I look at it, it's like when you're a DJ and you're scratching a CD, or you're scratching a record, and you see like Wanda like light up like, scratching. Yeah, I love how you look at it that way. And it's just like you said, it's beautiful when you see that there is this thing that this character, even you could apply it to yourself, that like you're so kind of self-conscious about, and you think, oh, I can't do this thing I want to do because there's this other thing about me. And it's just such a beautiful and like liberating moment when you realize like, no, it's not that I can't do this thing because of this. I could do it. I don't want to necessarily say like in spite of it, but you realize that the thing that you were kind of self-conscious about, it doesn't have to hold you back. So
I'm getting so emotional. I haven't even watched this yet. I'm like about to cry. I was like, I haven't even. I'm about to watch this as soon as we're done this conversation. Because I'm like, oh my god. But no, I'm very excited. I was already excited to check it out, but I'm even more excited. But because the anime is just coming out now, although the manga has been licensed in English and published for a while, is there anything, or maybe, you saw some talk as the anime was being announced, is there something about this series that you think people get wrong or are possibly going to get wrong going into it?
Yeah. It's funny because like the conversation that we're having now, talking about like resonating with it, a lot of viewers of the anime feel similarly. I think what I do see people talking about or commenting about is like the actual animation of the anime, because there's a beautiful blend of 2D animation and 3D animation. And I think there's been several instances of anime where they incorporate 3D with 2D. But with Wandance, I think it's very difficult to animate dancing in 2D especially. So I really admire all the work that went into thinking how's the best way to capture these characters' movements on screen. So what they did was every character has a corresponding like dancer. So like when you look at like the credits for Wandance, you see like voice actor, and then you see like dancer and like the person who was like their dancer. So they did like mocap for all the characters for all the dances. So much went into the actual animation for this. I believe Rie Hata is her name. She's done choreography for like really big like K-pop groups and stuff. She like did the choreography for all of the dances. And I, like I said, there's a beauty to the manga where you do see that fluidity of dance on the page, but kind of hearing about all of these steps that went into the animation of it is really amazing. They also like got all the music that you hear in the anime I was like made for the anime, because when you read the manga, it says like what the songs the characters are dancing to. So I actually have like a manga Wandance playlist of all the songs that they dance to, and now I have an anime playlist for Wandance. So it's also kind of that was also a challenge when they were making the anime too, because they had to like clear all the music rights and everything. But so yeah, I can only imagine what it was like working on that, where you have this existing work that you're trying to adapt into an anime, and then you have all of these like exciting challenges of like doing all new choreography and creating all new music that aligns with that choreography. So Wandance is still currently airing. It's up to episode 9 just came out this week, and the last 2 episodes especially have just blown my mind, because they've been really more focused on the characters having dance battles. So that's when like one character will dance, and then the other character will dance, and they'll do like a few different rounds where they're both taking turns dancing to the same song, and then the audience decides like who danced better. And because it goes into like the different kinds of dancing that you could do, like the musicality and getting the feeling of a song and just dancing to it freestyle. And those past 2 episodes have just been like, you could just see like how amazing these dancers were, and how the characters are, because they're the ones like doing this. But and also just seeing like Cabo's growth, because he starts off as someone who's just learning dancing, and as he learns more and more, he realizes, oh, like I like doing choreography because I like dancing with Wanda, but I think the thing that resonates me most is when I do freestyle and when I do dance battles. So also seeing his growth as he like not only learns more about dance, but like discovers more about himself, as he realizes what dance does to him and how it allows himself to express himself. It's just really like amazing to see like week by week.
I'm excited. I love like niche anime like genres, like where it's like dancing or sport, because you're like it's something in real life, so you're like, okay, how are they going to incorporate this real element of life, like a music like Given, for example, with the anime, and you're just like, how are these songs going to come alive? So I'm very curious to see that, and I didn't know that it makes sense that they have the motion capture. I do know sometimes people feel weird about like 3D animation mixed in with 2D, but it's like, how else like is it gonna make sense? Like, so yeah, I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, no, it's really because I also too. It's like I have no idea what goes into animation, like 2D, let alone 3D.
Right.
So I'm definitely not going to be here casting stones and be like, oh, the animation is like this when like I can't even draw a stick figure, you know. Um, but yeah, yeah, no, it's just it continues to like blow my mind with each week, and uh, it yeah, I'm so because I also like I'm not quite sure like how long the anime is going to go on for either. So I'm
Mhm.
really curious to see, you know, literally where it's going to go from here.
So on the other side of that, because you've also read the manga, is there an opinion that you have about the series that would be unpopular to the fandom, or maybe like the anime fans of it wouldn't understand?
Ooh, yeah, I don't know because like I said, I feel like the fans really get it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I don't know if this is something that like people would necessarily disagree with, but like I always get characters are always the one thing that I like resonate with. Not only like individual character arcs, but I also love like the characters like interpersonal relationships with each other. So like as you're reading the series, you could tell that like Cabo's like got some feelings for Wanda, and you know, he's kind of balancing like these feelings that he has for her with not being able to verbally communicate to her, while also admiring as a dancer, while also being like kind of envious. And then, you know, there's also the current president of the dance club, On, and Iori, who is another male member of the dance club, who really kind of becomes bros with like Cabo, who like teaches him more about like dancing. But you know, they do have like these hints of romance in it, or characters being romantically interested in other characters, and I'm like, I know it's about the dancing, but my heart also wants to see what's going on with these relationships. Um, so I think the way that the series has handled it is it makes sense why it's focusing on the areas that it does. But every time I get my little nuggets of like, oh, what's going on with these people? I just really want to see like more and more of that. So I'm not sure if like that's of interest to anyone else. But I'm definitely here like, oh please, oh, what's going to go on with you two?
Listen, you have a lover boy heart. I have a lover girl heart. Like when you're just like a lover of love, like I be finding love. And I'm like, this is a sad series. I'm like, there's love somewhere. There's a possibility of a ship. I'm gonna put them together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I love those little crumbs that give you a little hope. You're like, this isn't about this, but in my imagination, in my head canon.
Yeah, no, and it's really funny because like I don't want to give out spoilers, but there's this one scene where On, the president of the dance club, and Iori, they're friends, they're both members of the dance club. Iori hasn't been showing up to the dance club, and they decide to do this dance battle because On is like, if I win, you need to start coming back to practices again, and I want you to take over for me when because On is older than her. When she leaves, like someone else needs to kind of step up as president. So she's like, oh, if I win, you got to start coming back, and you got to consider like being president next year. And for Iori, he wanted to start having the club participate in dance battles, but also he wanted to date On too. So like, you know, when you hear like the club members gossiping like, oh, I heard that this is what's at stake, and when the battle ends, you just see like Iori thinking like, man, now like so my shipper heart is just there, and I'm the girls who are like whispering like, oh, did you hear that this is like, is it going on with you know? So it's just also very real because like they're high school kids, like that's what high school kids are
Right.
gonna do, you know.
I also love the world they live on. They're like, we're having this conflict. Let's dance it out. Like, get the
Yeah.
music, get the dance floor. We're gonna do a dance battle and solve these interpersonal problems through dance.
Through dance.
I would. I. This is so funny. But when I was young, do you remember the show MTV Made?
Oh yeah.
I had like a fantasy that they would get. I've never applied for this show. I don't know how they were gonna get me. That they would come and get me and make me like what I would want to be made into is a dancer. So I'm like imagining this is my life. Like imagine they made me a dancer, then I could have dance battles with people to solve my disputes. and win, because I can have a dance battle now, but I don't think I'm winning.
I know, yeah, that's the one thing with One Dance and sports animes is I get really invested into it, and I'm like, oh, I want to do this thing, and then I realize how unathletic I am.
Yeah.
But like just watching the anime too makes me want to like, oh man, I'm like, I know that I'm white and I can't dance, but I want to like sit in front of my TV and like learn how to do
It's never too late. I love the anime Run with the Wind, and I'm like, I'm gonna be a runner, and I just be running now, and I'm like, you know what, I did it.
Oh yeah, I really wanted to start playing volleyball again when I got into Haikyuu, and then I went to a gym and I realized that I don't remember the bottom of the volleyball net being above my head. That's how I was painfully reminded that I'm probably a little too short to play volleyball.
We can dream. We have dreams, and we're not gonna crush those dreams.
But also too, like that's also like the message of One Dance of like don't be like, hey, this thing about you is holding you back from doing the thing you want to do. So,
see, you need that message. You can sign up for a dance class right now.
Oh yeah. I want to. There's also like a friend of mine takes classes at a studio that like all the stuff that they do is like choreographed like K-pop dances.
Oh,
and I'm like, I need someone to get into One Dance, because if I could take a class where I'm like learning to do all of the dances that the characters are doing, like sign me up.
Oh my god, yes, I'm supporting. I think you should do that. That's a great idea. I'm like, I wish there were studios near me that did because my friend has gone to those K-pop dance classes, but there's none near me that would do that, and I'm like, man, living somewhere in Pennsylvania strikes again. So obviously the anime is still airing and the series is still ongoing. But when you think about this type of story, especially as someone who's been into anime and manga their whole life, when you think about One Dance and their legacy that they're going to leave behind, what do you think that legacy is?
Oh, man, I really think it's like an extension of like just what we've been talking about of feeling seen. And also like if there's something that, you're insecure or self-conscious about, I think sometimes all it takes is hearing someone else is also going through it. And that's what inspires you and gives you the push to be like, okay, this might be something that I am self-conscious about, but I'm going to own it and I'm still going to like do the thing. Cause like, that's like what I had through One Dance. I mentioned about how moving it is hearing that, not only Cabo has this experience, but also the voice actor that they cast to voice him in the dub. I think just, when you feel so othered and alone, you think I'm the only person who's dealing with this. And sometimes all it really takes is hearing that, like, someone else, is going through the same thing, like with you. And it just makes you feel like a little less alone. And sometimes that's really all you need. Yeah, like I said, I've never seen, this representation before in any like medium, like, not just manga, but also like books. So I really also hope that, this opens the door for other creators, whether they write novels, whether they draw manga, whether they draw comics, to like, write about like, hey, I have like a speech impediment, or I have like this disability. And I think that we have been seeing this, in like across media, like you're seeing more like trans narratives, you're seeing other like characters with like varying like disabilities, and you're realizing that like the author is writing something very close to their heart. So I just want to like continue to see like more and more of that. I think it's so important to like advocate for that, and if you are of that, really kind of like pushing forward for like yourself to kind of like be visible and be out there. Sorry, I feel like I was like rambling on this.
No, I was like, I'm just like letting you go, because I feel that so deeply too. And I think about, some of the more stories that we're getting, as in also by Kodansha, a sign of affection.
Oh.
And I think about, the deaf representation, and I was thinking about what you said, like that one quote from Wandance earlier that you said where the character said, I'm not nervous. Like I just talk like this. And I think like sometimes too there'll be a character that has something, but they like overcome it. And it's like sometimes you don't overcome a speech impediment. Like sometimes you have the speech impediment your whole life, or if you're deaf, like you're gonna be deaf your whole life. And I think you're so right that like these stories are so important. And as the world is trying to tell marginalized people like, hey, we don't want you here, is more important now than ever to not only have people writing and sharing these stories, but to have people reading them and watching them and uplifting them, because it's like they're actively trying to make these type of stories disappear. And it's like this is what we need. So I love that, this unlikely, like you wouldn't think like a dance story it would have this type of heart, but I love that it is in there. And this kind of leads to my final question, because I feel like we've talked about it in grandeur, but in everything, when you think about from discovering Wandance to now, how has it really impacted your life or changed your life?
That's a great question. Yeah, like I said, I think it made me think, oh, can I do this thing in spite of like X, Y, and Z? Like I mentioned, I kind of grew up with a speech impediment. In addition to, I obviously work as a manga editor, but I'm also really passionate about and interested in voice acting. So I thought, having a speech impediment, I just couldn't do it. I'm like, oh no, you need to be able to speak clearly. You need to sound like this. Like, even though I'm interested in it, I could never be a voice actor. And then, it was, I'd started, was working on One Dance, and I remember was tuning into a live stream of Kellen Goff. He's another voice actor who I'm a huge fan of, and he was just kind of doing like a Ask Me Anything, and I was like, hey, like, do you have any advice for folks who want to like get into voice acting, but they have like a lisp or a stutter or a speech impediment? And he was like, oh, well, like, I had a speech impediment when I was younger and I went to speech therapy, and now I'm a voice actor. And like, if I could do it, you could do it too. And sometimes it just takes like,
Yes.
here, like seeing that there is someone else who went through that. Oops, sorry. And, and I think through not only like seeing that in One Dance and seeing Cabo's journey, and then, being like, oh, like, I'm reading this manga, can I like connect with this person about this thing? I That's just been such a big takeaway for me, like, personally. So I hope folks can have like very like similar experiences to that.
That's such a
um
good. I
yeah.
love that he said that to you. Like that's so
It
cool.
was so sweet. It
I would
was
have been
so,
crying.
so sweet.
I would have been like, thanks.
um Yeah, and I it was very sweet, and I gotta finally meet him in person, and I was like, oh, by the way, like, thank you so much, because like, thanks to you, I'm now like, I have like a commercial demo, and I've been auditioning, and I'm working to be a voice actor. And he was like, oh, I hope we can be in a show together one day. And I'm like, shut up, like,
Don't say that to me.
so and again, like, sometimes it really just takes like being brave and like trying to have that connection with someone, and then hearing that from someone else. um so, and that's also why I like, we were talking about like all the responsibilities that like an editor does, but that's why I personally care so much about advocating for stories of like folks who are not like as represented. As a queer trans person, I care a lot about advocating for manga by like queer and trans authors featuring like trans characters, because like it's so important. And it's like seeing that firsthand too, when you get to see folks being like, oh, like, thank you so much for like, editing this or working on this title, or like, this series like changed my life. And like, that's what I knew I wanted to do, like, when I wanted to like work in publishing. I'm like, I want to be able to um uplift the voices of like the people who like need it the most, and like have readers find the books that they need to read. um so yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that so much, because I'm I always tell people my passion in life is storytelling, and I was like, storytelling changes the world and it heals the world, and it's like the voices whose stories need to be told like are these marginalized voices, and it's like the more one book, one story can change someone's heart, can change someone's mind, and or can just show them a perspective that they don't know about, and it's so important. And I love that you're able to do this work because it means so much. Now I feel like this is the most emotional episode I've had in such a long time. I was like, I've cried 3 times. So you did kind of share a little fun fact, but as we're wrapping up, are there any other fun facts or things that the general public might not know about this series?
Oh man, I mean, so I mean, I don't know if you were able to tell because of the way the camera zoomed in on me, but I've been wearing Iori's hoodie.
Oh,
So yeah, the character has this like very like stylized hoodie. So I've been representing the one dance with also what I was wearing today. But yeah, so anything that like folks may not, yeah, because I know that we were also briefly like chatting about this, how like sometimes when a manga's out sorry, when an anime is out, folks might just dive into the manga from where the anime left off, or they think, oh, I've seen the anime, I don't need to read the manga. But I think like there is such an amazing beauty in the manga, and the anime also has these very clever nods to the manga as well. Like sometimes like sound effects pop up on the screen and it's written in the same style as like the manga artists like hand-drawn sound effects. Or for example, when the characters are dancing, you see these very cool like squiggles of light, like almost like I don't want to say like the manifestation of dancing, because like dancing is something that you see someone do, but that's a visual element of the manga. So I also love like all of those Easter eggs that you see in the anime too, where they're really playing homage to Coffee Sensei, and they're like incorporating those beautiful like nods to the manga in the animation as well. So I would say that if you are enjoying like One Dance as an anime, like reading the manga is like such a delightful experience too. So definitely check that out.
I know I will, because one thing about me, I'm gonna tell you, go to the beginning, go to chapter 1 after the anime. I always wait, like I always watch the anime, and then once the anime is done, I will read the manga, because I'm like, okay, now this is me enjoying the story again, and like a new it's the same story, but it feels different, like it's a different vehicle of the story. So I'm so excited. I feel like I cannot wait. I'm like, I have to leave after this, but I'm like, I cannot wait to press play on this anime because now I'm like, I need to know everything, especially since it sounds like right up my alley. But
I'm gonna need like a lot like
you've
in real
unlocked
time reactions from
you've
you.
unlocked. It's too late. You're gonna have to block me on social media, because I will be in your DMs like, oh my god. So if you want to preemptively block me, I don't blame you, because
no, please bring on the DMs.
Because I feel like once somebody puts me onto something, I'm like, well, you've given me permission to go feral in your inbox about this. So do not be surprised if I do that. So I'll definitely let you know my journey on this, because I'm really excited, especially since like there's so many episodes out already. I can like binge it this weekend, even though I need to catch up on the other stuff that I'm watching.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you're if you like tend to lean more towards like subs or dubs, or if you're like me and you watch both.
I usually watch both.
Oh yeah, there it is. Oh my, yeah. There's 9 episodes subbed, and there's four dubbed. I want to say numbers. What are numbers? Yeah, let's go with 4. So yeah, and like I said, it's so fun, because like I said, every week it's like I'll always watch the new episode, and then I'm like, hyperfixation, I'm gonna go and binge watch all the episodes now too. So and it's just so fun getting to do that in like both languages, because both of the voice casts are so great. I'm also a big fan of like Kabo's Japanese voice actor, Koki Uchiyama, but I also love another favorite character of mine. His name is Kabeya, and he's voiced by Yuma Uchida, who's another like favorite voice actor of mine. So but between the dub and the sub, I'm just like completely fanboying over like all of the cast members.
It was like made perfect for you with like all your favorite actors, like your favorite studios, everything came together for this anime just for
I know.
you.
I'm like, yeah. The Wandance is single-handedly like getting me through the fall anime season. It's
Yes.
so great.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. And this means the sad part of the show, which is that the show is coming to an end. But this has been so wonderful. And I am so excited, like I said, to check this out. But for folks who want to follow you or want to know anything that you're working on personally or professionally, is there any upcoming projects that you want to talk about, that you want to promote, or things that we should be on the lookout for?
Oh yeah. So if there are any Blue Lock fans out there, super excited that we are releasing Blue Lock in a omnibus edition next year. So if you've always been wanting to binge Blue Lock, definitely check that out. Several volumes will be out in time for the World Cup next year. So if you're looking forward to that, there's no better time to binge Blue Lock. I was kind of talking about before about Hall of like, some extra fixins we get to do when we do like omnibus editions or premium editions. And there's some really cool cover effects. There's a little color gallery in the omnibus edition. So again, kind of really wanted to think about what fans would really enjoy about that. So definitely check that out next year. If you are a fan of Omegaverse manga, one of my other favorite series that I've been working on, the first volume is now out. It's called Omega Mega Era. I won't go into like too much of it, but my elevator pitch for this series is if you imagine a messy American soap opera, but you packaged it in a Japanese Omegaverse, it really goes into like a world where like there is a societal hierarchy to like alphas, betas, and omegas, and it really focuses on this one really freaking messy family, and it's so bingeable, very sink your teeth into. And it's by Maki Marukito, who is a very kind of prolific BL manga artist. And that's another series that, like, again, we'd read it kind of like years ago. I was really advocating for it, and the stars finally aligned that we're now releasing it in English. So that's another series that I'm really, really looking forward to. And then I'm sorry, did you have a second part of that question?
Or any of your like, if you have any personal projects that you're working on?
Personal projects that I'm working on. So I am also like a writer. So I'm looking forward to getting a lot of writing done next year too. I have like several like novel ideas in my head that I'm working on. I have like a queer historical fiction. I have another like contemporary like queer romance that I want to start working on. So that's like just kind of personal stuff. And I'm also going to be diving more into voice acting. November was rough because I lost my voice for a few weeks because I had a really bad cough. So I'm so happy that I have my voice back and I can start auditioning for stuff again. So
Yay!
Personally, that's probably what I'm going to be doing. And in addition to Wandance, I've also been watching Disney's Twisted Wonderland this year too. But similar to you, I don't want to. It's pretty rare that like I'll watch an anime and like have not read the manga. But this is a series where like I haven't played the game, I haven't read the manga yet. So I'm also like I have all the manga. I'm just waiting for like the anime season to wrap up, and then I'm gonna dive into the manga. So I can't wait for that either.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I have that Omega one. I have an arc for it, and it's just in my iPad, and I'm like, everybody's like, this is messy, this is crazy, but
It's so good.
I get very easily like secondhand embarrassment, so I'm like, I need to be in the right headspace to read this, because when things are too messy, I'm like, oh no, so I cannot, now that Noah has your personal cosign, I'm gonna have to bump it up on my list, because I was like, I have it on my calendar to do a review on, so I cannot wait. But TJ, thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Thank you so much. This is like really like a dream come true, and I've been just again, I'm just so thankful and honored that you had invited me to come and chat with you. And just again, Thank you so much. This has been great. Like I said, I've just been sitting here like fanboying the entire
And
time.
I've been fangirling. I'm like, oh my God, I've had you on because it was just meant to be. It was meant to be. So thank you so much for coming on. And if you are listening or watching this episode, any thoughts or comments, leave them in the description box if you're watching the YouTube. I just learned if you listen on Spotify, there's comments there now too. So, yeah, I didn't know this either. Apparently, you can comment on Spotify, and I know I have a lot of listeners on Spotify, so comment on there. TJ, thank you so much. And I'm going to stop the recording, so I'll just say bye to the listeners.